Simply Fujica, a place for budding and aspiring entrepreneurs. I want to thank you for stopping by to the channel. My name is Fujica, and I serve this community as a business mentor, and ultimately I help people start their home care agencies. I have a great video that I'm excited for today. I want to talk to you about how do you coach your caregivers to success. And this is so important because you all, I know it is tough out there to get caregivers to actually not only to hire them, but to retain them. And so when you finally hire that caregiver that you want into your agency, and maybe they're not performing in the way that you want them to, you really don't want to quickly make a decision, especially if you can coach them up and get them to where they need to be. So this is a very important video, and I hope you all, this is something you stay tuned for, because if this is something you want to listen to, and I hope that it is, then stay tuned. The first tip that I have for you is, remember, you want to prepare yourself. You want to get yourself ready for this conversation. And you do this by setting your intention. Because remember, the purpose of this conversation is to improve the performance. It's never to berate anybody. Most adults aren't going to sit there and let you just berate them or belittle them or, make them feel bad about themselves. And so then it started kind of getting into a contest on who can berate the one, the best, right? And so rather than doing that, especially if this is, like I said, a hire that you are invested in, again, at this time you could be a new agency or you could be growing, you could be trying to stabilize your agency. You really want to make sure that you're investing your energy into growing your staff and grooming your staff. And I will say this, when you are interacting with your other caregivers, remember, behind the scenes they're talking to each other. And so don't forget, they are talking to each other about how you treat each other, and so I like to say this, you guys have seen this earlier in my videos. People are going to be talking to you. It's kind of up to you. You're kind of creating that narrative in terms of what are they saying about you. And so, I always say, if your intention is to retain that person and you want them to improve, then let that be your guide for the conversation. So the second tip that I have for you is be clear on the issue. And I guess a subset of that tip is make sure that you're being objective and not subjective. So it's not a rumor. It's not what you heard. It's not what someone told you, right? Something that's very easy is something that you can measure, or if the client has voiced a concern. But definitely it's not hearsay. It's not a rumor. It's very hard for a caregiver to try to manage through perception and rumors, right? Especially if these are rumors from, maybe their peers or other caregivers. So you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? You always want to make sure that you're able to have a way to clearly state what the issue is, and then be able to maybe 2 to 3 bullet points back up or evidence what that issue is. And again, this is just matter of fact. Here is what the concerns are, just so that you can get them out on the table and allow that caregiver to ask any questions that he or she may have about those expressed concerns. The third tip that I have for you is to provide, you want to make sure that you're equipped with 2 to 3, just like you provided 2 to 3 tips on the issue, you want to provide 2 to 3 actionable steps on ways this person can improve. And this is real important here, because you don't want a person to ever come back and say, oh, I thought I was doing that the right way, or, well, I don't even know how to improve in that area. What do you think? How can I improve in this area? And you're like, well, I don't know. Because the caregiver is going to say, well, I don't know either, right? This is why we're having this conversation. So you always want to make sure you come to that conversation prepared. You want to do your homework ahead of time to have those things thought out and really just prepare to share with them those things. And those items becomes whatever you and that caregiver agree upon, then becomes your action plan, right? That then becomes your action plan in order to make sure that this person does improve. Going back to that first step, the whole purpose of this is to see improvement. So this is you letting that person know, this is you getting that buy-in from your caregiver that, hey, we're talking about this so that we can get you back to a good state. The fourth tip that I have for you is you want to make sure that you offer help. Listen, no matter how prepared you are, no matter how you have everything laid out for this person, remember, this is still a coaching conversation. So the person on the receiving end can get a little emotional about receiving this coaching conversation. And so you want to make sure that you kind of interject this conversation with offering that person help. When you're going back to the third step, when you're offering ways in which they can improve, somehow you should infuse yourself in one of those ways, whether you're helping them in one of the ways they can improve. Maybe you're partnering with them in one of their actions. But again, it is you showing up for that person so that person doesn't feel that they don't have anyone that they can talk to, or they don't have anyone that they can turn to as it relates to their position. Or, you don't want a person feeling like they are alone, or that they're by themselves, or no one cares whether they do a good job or not. Okay, so this is how you can differentiate yourself as an employer of choice versus just another home care agency that they work for. Okay, so definitely you want to make sure that you offer assistance. But I want to offer a caveat here. You want to make sure you don't offer more assistance than you can actually give. You don't want to spread yourself too thin. That's another roadblock, right? Because you're already the business owner. You probably have more than one caregiver. So you want to be realistic in the help that you're offering. And then the fifth and final step that I have for you is check in. Just check in with the person. Now, part of your action plan may say, hey, we'll check in 30 days. We'll check in a couple of weeks. We'll check in a week from today. So that should already be built into the plan. But even I like to outside of the plan, because again, we're making this personable, right? I like to check in with the person just to see how they're doing. It could be just a quick text. It could be just a quick email. It could be a quick phone call. But just to check in, see how that person is doing. And if the client is involved, most definitely reaching out to that client to see if the situation has improved, and then following up with that person to say, hey, I checked in with the client, and the client is saying that you have certainly improved in the area of XYZ. Okay, guys, so that is all that I have on this subject. Listen, I actually love people relations is my favorite part of my job. I know for some people that's the hardest part of their job. I know everyone is different, but this is actually where I shine. I love managing people. I love speaking with people. This is just something that I was put on this earth to do. So if you do need help in this area, certainly reach out to me at simplyfujica@yahoo.com. I would love to talk to you about that. This is something I could definitely set up mentoring sessions for you if you need more assistance. But I would love to carry on the conversation in the comment section. What tip do you have when you're preparing to coach your caregivers? Or what works for you when you coach your caregivers? Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content and if you've been here before. And then hit that bell notification so that you're notified every time I release a new video. That's all I have for you guys today. Stay blessed.